more about the Carnival cruise example, and I just wanted to kind of flesh out some of the whole discount rate thing. So the first thing is the government lowered discount rates. So this is, pretend that this part of the screen is the value of the stock in normal times. So we have $5. The present value is just a perpetuity, which is the $5 divided by the 0.07 discount rate. I changed it to 0.07. That's probably a more realistic discount rate for a stock like this. And this is the same exact thing, except that I assume that there would be some short-term uprising, or not uprising, I'm sorry, some disruption to the stock and the prices and whatever happens to the cash flows. So this is the present value in year 6 of a perpetuity starting out here where you get $5, and here's the steady state revenue. So this would be, oh, that's too dark. That would be a cell that I could fill in later if I wanted to change what the steady state was. And let me just show you, like, changing the the discount rate to 5%, that's only a difference of 2%, changes the price by 40%. So right off the bat, by decreasing interest rates, the government, and they only did it by 0.5%. So let's do, and actually the 0.5% refers to T-bills, but in general, let's say that the whole market rate goes down by 1%. So that's still a 17% difference. And that, in a way, would kind of explain the increase that we saw in the market in general. But now let's say that these go to zero. We have revenue in year 1 and year 2 that is 0. The difference now is only 4%, so therefore, like, actually the increase in price is 4%. So the idea is that if you lower rates by a teeny amount, that you mess with the value of the stock, and therefore you can increase the present value even though you may have 0 cash flow in these years. But here's the thing. One, even though market rates have gone lower, there might be a higher risk associated with this stock. So let's say that that goes up to 10%, and we have 0 cash flows in 2 years. Well, that's minus 42%. That's quite a big drop. Another thing that we could play with, let's go back to 0.07, is to kind of look at this strategically and say, well, you know what, if I'm a cruise ship and my revenue can't really go to 0, in fact, it could actually go negative. So let's say that I lost 10 here and 6 here. So this would be like, we had to take cruise ships and put them off, dock them somewhere and maintain them until people wanted to take cruises again, and that costs a lot of money. And so therefore, our revenue in year 2, we're kind of, more people are taking cruises, but not that many. You could still see a price decline of 33%. Especially if you got a little riskier and you wanted a 10% discount rate, you could see the stock go down 62% in the short term. But let's go back to 0.07, and let me just talk about one more thing before I stop this video. We're also making the assumption, let's say this is 0 and this is 3, and, well, let's call that 2. You have a lot of expenses in year 1 and 2, but then you have people that want to go on cruises again, and the question is, what risk is there that the company actually doesn't have cruises anymore? And, it doesn't have cruises, but that no other competitor comes up. So maybe they can't get a bank loan for this amount because they certainly don't have that much cash on hand. What if in these years where they're still scrambling, another company has a lot more cash and they're able to come in and steal some of the market share? So if you don't hear Carnival Cruise all the time or the name on the news, you might not have a steady state revenue of 5. In fact, if it's 3, and we reach steady state in year 5, then the stock could lose 73% of its value. And these are kind of crazy numbers in a sense because we don't know what's going on with the stock and what's going on with the company, and these are obviously completely made up. But if you had a job doing something like this, one of the things that you would think about would be things that we're talking about now. So if I have 0 or negative revenue in years 1 and 2, what do those costs consist of? And in the event that I have that revenue, what other competitors could come in and take over, and how does that impact my revenue going forward? And so if you change the steady state just a little bit, then it can make a huge difference in the stock itself. And so when I was talking today about it, if you change nothing else and you only change the first 2 years of revenue, well, guess what? Your NPV is not all that different. Especially if your interest rate is low, like if you assume that it's a really safe stock, the difference is about 4%. But 2% I think was probably pretty low. 7% may even be a little low, but I'm not sure. And even in that case, the difference in stock price is 13%. And if you start making any kind of assumptions about short-term expenses associated with having to dry dock ships or whatever they do with cruise ships that aren't in service, then you end up with a huge difference that is a much larger problem for the economy as a whole. Anyway, I hope that helps. These are completely made up numbers, but I just wanted to help you guys think through the Carnival example because I was kind of doing it on the fly and hadn't thought about it entirely.